Yes, inverted wedding cake or upside down wedding cake. Oh, look at my cup. Oh, uh, small at the base and becomes big when it goes up. Oh, that's if it helps you to remember. Oh, that miserable guy and his lousy cup, that's fine too. As long as you remember, this is very important to remember when it comes to the airspace classification. And yeah, leave alone in that, even maybe in your car or your vehicle, the cup you use may have a smaller bottom, and on the top it could be a larger diameter. This is similar situation that we are talking about on different airports. That's how it works, and best way to remember on this airspace classification, it's also in there our website. That's module 8 figure 4. This is already there, so let's do this in a systematical way. You got the different classified airports. Let's say class B airspace is for B is very busy airports like JFK or LAX. So it's very busy airports. You have the class B classification. In fact, I should have started with class A classification. It's 18,000 mean sea of above mean sea level, up to flight level 600. When it comes to flight level, always add 2 zeros behind the number, maybe 2 notes. If you are in Great Britain, well, that's a different story there. So that heavenly area was 60,000 feet and above. And speaking of which, I also want to bring out the fact that in US we have all in feet. That means whether it's height or lengthwise, we still have feet. But in European countries or Britain and other countries, you might have still feet on the height or altitude, but the other dimensions would be metrics or SI measurements. So that's another thing that you need to be aware of. And this tiered up situation on the airports, it becomes once you get the real understanding of it, you would agree that it's not something that confusing. But initially, some people would say, "Oh, this is very confusing." Some people would say, "This is very easy." There's another added thing I would want to add. It's the going up. As it goes up, the diameter becomes bigger. And one other thing you might want to think of that's happening in a practical way. Well, I have not seen anybody else saying this. Well, I'm going to say this. Maybe they take me to gallows. Who knows? Okay, but I feel like for you to get an understanding, think of it like V convergence for the planes. In fact, at levels a little higher, there are many. Think of JFK. You get flights to JFK coming from all over Europe, Paris, London, and up there in Nova Scotia and all these places. So and trying to converge to this airport, world known airport JFK. But then think of the scenario like if it is up there, all these why it's needed to get protection, give protection, and for the air traffic controllers to find exactly where the planes are. because all these humongous planes would be in the vicinity as it goes up around this area. Because what are the odds a major jumbo or Dreamliner or Airbus being under this area? Because by that time the plane has descended, it's they have set the bearings, everything is nice to come into the runway. But if it is up here, there may be so many planes around here, so more protection is needed. So think of a V shape or the upside down wedding cake, and that is for busy airports. Now I've talked about A classification. When you think of A, think of the altitude is at the highest level. You have the A classification, and then you next step you think about the busy airports that got the B classification. With the as you go up, the tier becomes larger and larger, and then on the C airports, think of C airport as still crowded, congested airports, because may not be humongous as JFK or LAX, but still crowded airports, and still need this two-tier operation where more protection, more coverage, or the air traffic controllers should know where the planes are so that they won't bounce into each other. And then you got Class D. Class D doesn't have two tiers, but it goes straight up, and then non-towered airports also you have, they are we have to talk about the Class E at this stage, meaning if it is any classified airspace that is not coming under Class A, Class B, Class C, or Class D is covered by Class E. There's also to enter into Class E, there's also restriction is there. You need to meet the standards like the standard of the aircraft and standard of communication or transponders, and all that needs to be met. Of course, FAA wants you to know about it, not that you are flying on all these areas, but you should know that. And anything marked G is the G. If you look at it as remote pilots or drone pilots, you got to remember it like go for it. Okay, so in other words, all other areas there are restrictions, and if it is a G area, you are well within to operate it without anybody's permission, as long as you keep to the FAA required height specifications, that is 400 feet above ground level. And so you got the air classification already done. And look at this, I'm going to bring you up to the weather report. See, on this weather report, this is a meter. I'm going to go through one by one, break this down for you to understand meter weather report. And then there is also the second weather report called TAF, Terminal Aerodrome Report. That's the TAF. So I'm going to break that down also. Then we should talk about this beautiful system that I'm talking about. That is how you going to fail this on this TAF and meter. There's the two charts are already on your workbook. So once I do this, if you get this question wrong, just stab me. It's better than getting this wrong for me. All right, that and also I'm going to talk a little more on the sex channel air chart. I also want you to alert you when you do the why I said after doing 107 you have to do the the what they call as optional, you still have to do, because most of the map questions on the maps are under that. So with the maps, what I do suggest is try to print them out, because I know old as I am, of course, I would be struggling with these cluttered maps. But then even younger people, this is too much of stuff in one, at least in very tiny areas. You have to locate things. So it's important that you print it out. That makes it easier. I would even say unmanned aircraft general, FAA is doing a fantastic job, and at the same time FAA is doing a fantastic job of eye testing too. Hopefully FAA won't come behind me for saying that. And also a couple of other things. To the examination hall, you are not allowed to take any take your smartphone, so you cannot use your smartphone as your calculator. So I suggest should take a basic one like this, or this is a Staples one, but may not be available now, or you might have to ask your mother-in-law or grandma to get one of these. Sorry about that, but I purposely say these things. I like to introduce a little humor, because experts say even in an intricate subject like aeronautics, if you humor helps. So beyond that, I do advise you to take, of course, take a small calculator, because I will show you in this module itself. There is one calculation you have to do, that is the load calculation. When the angle or the banking of the aircraft, although we are talking about drones, that question is on fixed wing, but still for all, there's a little calculation that you have to multiply by 1.115 or something like that. So I'm much better. Didn't I in the other modules, didn't I kept saying that how bad I am on my math? But I can do a little mental mathematics comparing to my genius kids generation. They cannot handle pretty much anything without a calculator. But I suggest you take a basic calculator. And one other thing, don't forget to take one of these, a magnifying glass. See, we have my way of looking at it is, I think most of you who have sat for these exams would agree with me that you iron out the basic things, obvious questions first, so that you have more times to deal with the more ambiguous or harder questions. So that's the magnifying glass going to help you a lot, even if your eyesight is 20/20. So that's one thing you will have. I would suggest you to take. And so why I keep saying, coming back to the same point, once you totally get through these four areas that I'm talking about, that means out of the 60 questions, you are through with 28 questions. That is more than 50%. So let's think of it now. The pass marks is bear with me.